And do you have a message for him?
Honestly, he got a fight next week, right? So, it seemed like he focused on me, and Lamont Roach is focused on him. I think I'm gonna go put my bet in on Lamont Roach.
As you talk sports, is
the overall makeup of a Tank Davis is surprising to most fighters. It won't be surprising to Lamont Roach. And Lamont is a DMV fighter himself, which means he got that dog, you know? It's going to be a good fight.
Gervonta Tank Davis and Lamont Roach are set to face off tomorrow, and boxing experts have made their final predictions. Surprisingly, Roach's confidence throughout the press events and fight buildup has convinced some professionals to back him. However, Davis remains a dominant force and shows no signs of letting go of his undefeated record.
When it comes to the invitation thing, but obviously he hit for a reason. He do what he's supposed to do with the guys that's in front of him. He got
Gervonta Tank Davis holds a flawless 30-0 record, with 28 of those wins coming by knockout. Aside from his decision victory over Isaac Pitbull Cruz, he has stopped his opponents in 21 straight fights. His last bout was in June, where he showcased his speed and power to knock out Frank Martin in the 8th round. Meanwhile, Lamont Roach, a junior lightweight champion, is moving up in weight to challenge Davis, one of boxing's most feared knockout artists.
Look for him, you know? If you switch it up now, it ain't going to do too much. We don't have enough time to switch it up, you know?
So, some boxing experts believe Davis chose a weaker opponent to protect his undefeated record, arguing that this fight lacks the intensity and competitiveness a bout against a top lightweight contender would bring. Teofimo Lopez sees it as a mismatch and isn't too concerned about Lamont Roach's championship status.
You know what I'm saying? They're about to put him with a guy at 130 pounds. Whether he's a champion or not, you're getting a guy lighter than you to come up and weight to make you look good. Again,
he's about to fight a guy who weighs 130 pounds. Champion or not, he's bringing in someone smaller to move up in weight just to make himself look good. I'd dominate any of them, Teofimo Lopez stated.
All right, guys, run out and face the crowd. Run out and face the crowd now. Cameras in the back, guys. Hector, camera in the back. Camera in the back.
Two-division champion Teofimo Lopez, who recently hinted at being ready for a big fight later this year, is among those seeking a showdown. In a recent interview with Fight Hype, Lopez questioned Davis's willingness to take on elite competition.
Building up his followers, you know, and now look where that got him. So the whole thing is all about, man, just, I'm a real fighter. That's what it is, man, the truth. And the truth hurts a lot of people, but they got to learn.
Lopez highlighted the long-standing belief that Davis has been carefully managed, specifically pointing to his past reluctance to fight Vasily Lomachenko. The biggest issue is they don't believe in themselves. How many times did they say Tank Davis wasn't ready for Loma, that he needed more preparation? How many times did Mayweather have to speak for him? I'm just stating facts, Lopez said.
Got words. Take it in. I beat Lomachenko. For me, I scored a 9-3. For you guys, I could care less because y'all don't know shit about boxing.
Lopez also recalled a sparring session with Davis from 11 years ago. At the time, Davis was already an 18-year-old professional, while Lopez was just 15. While he noted Davis's aggressive approach in the ring, he admitted that the experience doesn't hold much weight today. Despite his critiques, Lopez doesn't underestimate Davis. In a past interview with Fight Sports, he acknowledged that Davis is a tough opponent, but remains confident that he's the only one capable of defeating him.
I ain't one to fucking play with.
I respect it, man. You're true.
Tank isn't an easy fight. I guess the only one who can really beat him is me. If no one else can do it, I will, Lopez stated. Meanwhile, female heavyweight champion Claressa Shields, who has had a long-standing rivalry with Gervonta Davis, offered a surprisingly balanced prediction for the fight.
I mean, like, he's a bad man. He can fight. He's tough. I know we had our dispute back and forth, whatever, but at the end of the day, if we talk about just boxing.
Hey, absolutely.
I don't know why people are overlooking Lamont. He had a strong amateur career, and he's a tough, skilled fighter, Claressa Shields said. Tank is Tank, and when I say that, I mean he's a dangerous fighter, he's tough, and he can really fight. Despite her ongoing feud with Davis, Shields kept her analysis fair, adding, I know we've had our back and forth, but if we're talking strictly boxing, he's a good fighter, and I'm looking forward to watching the fight.
And I look forward to watching that fight.
Is this a pay-per-view fight, though? Would you buy it? Are you going to buy it?
I've bought any fight that Tank has had pay-per-view. And I think that
When asked if the fight was worth a pay-per-view purchase and whether she planned to buy a ticket, Shields responded, "I've always bought Tank's pay-per-view fights, and I think Lamont Roach is worth watching. This fight will be very technical and skillful, and as always, we'll see Tank's power on display. May the best man win." On the other hand, Tim Bradley had a much harsher take, calling it the Tank Protection Program. He criticized Davis, saying, "This guy looks like a total fraud. Put him in the ring with someone who can actually punch back." This has been going on for a long time, bringing up smaller fighters to make Tank look good. He looks spectacular, but it's all a cover-up.
Fighters up from a lower weight class to get in there with Tank. Tank looks spectacular, but it's a cover-up. I'm going to tell you right now, I think Tank is a good fighter. They're saying they don't have an opponent.
Bradley continued, "I'll tell you right now, I think Tank is a good fighter. They say there's no opponent for him. Yes, there is. His name is Edwin de los Santos. Fans would gladly pay for that fight, but they're hiding something. What is it? Are they afraid of de los Santos' power?" He then criticized Davis for avoiding the matchup, saying, "Tank had a lot to say when Shakur Stevenson put everyone to sleep in his fight with de los Santos, but he won't step in the ring with him." Bradley concluded, "That's the fight everyone wants to see. Nobody's paying for this pay-per-view with Lamont Roach. People will show up because it's Gervonta Davis, but those big pay-per-view numbers they're chasing? That's just a wishful dream."
His name is De Los Santos, and the fans wouldn't mind paying for a De Los Santos fight, but they're covering something. I don't know what it is. Is it the power of De Los?
Welterweight standout Kenneth Sims Jr., who has faced both Roach and Davis, also weighed in on the fight. Initially, he avoided making a prediction, as he shares a good relationship with both fighters and felt it would be disrespectful to pick a side. However, he eventually opened up, reminiscing about the time he and Roach competed against each other in the semifinals of the Nationals, sharing some memorable moments along the way.
Definitely a fight that, like a great fight for boxing. I think that boxing fans are trying to, like, basically shut Lamont out. I don't know, maybe because he's not a big name.
When asked what each fighter needs to do to win, Sims pointed out that both Roach and Davis are counterpunchers. He explained that for one of them to gain the upper hand, they'll need to step out of their comfort zone and force the other to open up. He also noted that Davis is a slow starter, taking time to find his rhythm. Tank starts slow, but as the fight goes on, he picks up the pace and gets busy, Sims said. However, he warned that Davis will need to be more aggressive earlier than usual. If he waits too long, it might be too late, considering how fast Roach fights and how quickly he racks up points in the early rounds, he added.
Watching the fight.
Do you think the fact that it is going to be a technical fight, do you think that favors Lamont, or does it favor?
This perspective was unexpected, as many have already dismissed Lamont Roach in his lightweight title debut. However, when promoter Eddie Hearn was asked about the Davis versus Roach fight, he defended Roach, stating that he's a good fighter and that the backlash surrounding the matchup was unfair. After the fight was announced for December 14th, many were surprised by the selection of Roach as Davis's opponent, questioning whether he was the right challenge for the undefeated star.
The Gervonta Davis Roach fight.
I think that, he's had a lot of criticism, but
Hearn defended Davis by explaining that as the WBA lightweight champion, he had limited options for opponents. He pointed out that Ryan Garcia is suspended, Shakur Stevenson is injured, Isaac Pitbull Cruz recently lost, and Devin Haney, after defeating Vasily Lomachenko, decided to sit out the rest of 2024. Given these circumstances, Hearn suggested that Davis had no choice but to face Roach.
I won't be doing my phases for this one because we know the family,
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Hearn acknowledged that Davis had other potential opponents, such as Edwin de los Santos, Andy Cruz, Keyshawn Davis, and Raymond Muratalla. However, he pointed out that none of them are as well known as Lamont Roach, meaning they wouldn't generate more pay-per-view buys. I think the online reaction is a little unfair. Roach is a good fighter. The problem is, no one really knows him, Hearn said in an interview with Fight Hub TV. With Tank's status in the sport, people expect him to take on big fights. And if the opponent isn't a big name, the fight won't feel as big. But if you really know boxing, you know this is a good fight. Yes, he's moving up from super featherweight, but realistically, What other options did Tank have?
Right, you know, Lamont Roach is a world champion. He's smaller than Gervonta Davis. The problem is not many people are aware of who he is or his ability. But
the backlash isn't just about Roach being relatively unknown. It's also driven by boxing fans who doubt his ability to compete at this level. While this is a tough challenge for the 29-year-old, it's also a huge opportunity to elevate his career by taking on one of the biggest names in boxing. Roach is a skilled and crafty fighter with a solid chin, and if he can take advantage of Davis's habit of starting slow, he has a small chance of making the fight competitive. An early lead could even put him in position for an upset victory.
I see a nice competitive fight.
Nice competitive fight.
Yeah. He's not going.
While Davis remains one of boxing's biggest attractions, this matchup has left some fans disappointed. Many were hoping to see him face a top contender in his division rather than a lesser-known opponent moving up in weight. Boxing is full of surprises, isn't it? Interestingly, Lamont Roach is preparing for the biggest moment of his career, not just for the paycheck, but to prove he belongs at this level. Roach isn't just after a payday. He wants Davis's belt and a statement victory. His intense training camp is bringing him closer to that goal every day. What makes Roach even more dangerous is the personal tragedy that fuels his motivation. The loss of his coach years ago remains a driving force behind his journey in boxing. Even Davis knows that facing someone with a deep reason to fight, someone fueled by pain, can be a serious challenge. Just look at Buster Douglas, who shocked the world by defeating Mike Tyson shortly after losing his mother over 30 years ago. Although Lopez hasn't set a specific fight date, he has hinted at another potential move up in weight. Meanwhile, Davis is expected to return to the ring in December in Washington, possibly against super featherweight champion Lamont Roach. Former featherweight champion Gary Russell Jr. isn't convinced, though. He claims that WBA regular lightweight champion Tank Davis is misleading the public with his choice of opponents.
opponent or that Lamont's not going to present a challenge.
It ain't no perception. Y'all know what it is, man. Tank picking and choosing. I always say...
Russell argues that Tank Davis has been carefully selecting weaker opponents rather than facing the fighters that fans truly want to see. According to him, this strategy is designed to keep Davis undefeated and avoid real threats. He also pointed out that Davis has held the secondary WBA lightweight title for a long time, allowing him to dodge the dangerous matchups he would have been forced into if he held the main championship. Russell isn't impressed with Davis's latest opponent, Lamont Roach, who was brought up from the super featherweight division for this fight.
I'm personal, but at some point, Tank gotta take it personal. If I'm saying, I think you a bitch because you fighting somebody that's really not a dog, that's really...
Gary Russell Jr. criticized Tank Davis for consistently facing opponents that fans aren't interested in. Speaking to Fight Hype, Russell claimed he wasn't surprised by Davis handpicking Lamont Roach from the super featherweight division instead of facing a top lightweight contender. He argued that throughout Davis's 11-year career, the only time he fought someone fans truly wanted to see was against Ryan Garcia. However, even that fight was considered a mismatch due to the weight stipulations in Garcia's contract, which many believe drained his chances of winning.
I'm not gonna... Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to discredit Lamont Roach. I know Lamont Roach, he's a good guy. You know what I'm saying? I know his father, they all cool. You know what I'm saying? But
Russell believes Tank Davis can't continue cherry-picking opponents for much longer, especially with fans and media networks having the power to push for better matchups. However, he also admitted that Davis might still get away with it until retirement because of his loyal fan base. According to Russell, many of Davis's supporters don't care about the quality of his opposition since they lack deep boxing knowledge. To them, Lamont Roach might seem like an elite opponent. But by consistently facing weaker competition since turning pro in 2013, Davis is setting himself up for lower pay-per-view numbers throughout the rest of his career.
There's levels to everything. Don't think that you're fighting someone from the area and make it seem like it's Baltimore versus.
Russell argues that Tank Davis will never be a fighter who draws 1 million pay-per-view buys because he isn't facing the opponents fans want to see. He believes the public is being misled, expecting the best to fight the best, but instead, they get matchups against unknown fighters. According to Russell, if Davis's team truly wanted him to compete at the highest level, he would be fighting Edwin de Los Santos on December 14th instead of Lamont Roach. He also pointed out that Davis could have faced Vasily Lomachenko back in 2017 when he was first called out, but chose to avoid the challenge.
Dog from the area. Because that dog from the area is right here. Everybody know that. You know what I'm saying? So, it is what it is, man.
Russell doubled down on his criticism, stating that fans are questioning why Tank Davis is fighting Lamont Roach because the matchup isn't competitive. He emphasized that top fighters are avoiding real challenges, and Tank is carefully selecting his opponents. While he clarified that his comments weren't personal, he insisted that Davis should take them personally because he believes Tank is not stepping up to face true threats. Russell acknowledged that Roach is a good fighter and has respect for him and his family, but he stressed that there are levels in boxing. He dismissed the idea that this fight represents a gritty regional rivalry, making it clear that he sees the matchup as unbalanced.
At some point, when does pride, when does ego, when does integrity kicks in and say, fuck it, I really do want to see, am I as good as I really think I am?
Russell continued his critique, questioning when pride, ego, and integrity would push fighters to truly test themselves against the best. He expressed doubt about Lamont Roach's chances against Tank Davis, stating that if both fighters are at full strength, Roach has little hope of winning. He predicted that while the fight might be competitive in the early rounds, Tank would eventually walk Roach down, applying pressure and landing decisive shots. Russell anticipated either a knockout or technical knockout in the later rounds. He also dismissed the significance of the fight, calling it a money grab for Roach rather than a career-defining moment. According to Russell, this matchup lacks the risk factor that would elevate Tank's legacy or prove Roach to be a legitimate threat.
What makes Tank Tank? We see the power, but it's got to be more than that.
Nah, he's strategic. He's setting guys up. He's been boxing since a little kid.
This fight is shaping up to be a technical showdown with an exciting undercard. While Tank Davis is the overwhelming favorite, experts and fellow boxers are refusing to completely write off Lamont Roach. Ahead of the fight, Fight Hype sat down with Richardson Hitchens and Kenneth Sims Jr. to get their thoughts on the matchup, and their responses might surprise you. Hitchens, the undefeated super lightweight, was asked about his history with both fighters and what fans should expect from the bout. The New York native highlighted the similarities between Tank and Roach, cautioning fans not to underestimate the latter. Hitchens expressed confidence that the 25-1 fighter could shock everyone and deliver a thrilling contest.
Years ago, I want to say like 2016, 2017 years ago. I think it's a great fight, you know, because this guy Lamont Roach.
Lamont came up in the same kind of environment as Tank. They share a lot of similarities. I think a lot of people are writing Lamont off because of his loss to Jamal Herring, but he's been consistent over the years, said Hitchens while discussing Roach's resurgence since that 2019 defeat. The undefeated fighter then assured fans that this matchup would be a display of high-level technique, admitting that even he was looking forward to it. When asked who would have the edge in a technical fight, Richardson Hitchens stated, "It's going to be a great technical fight. Tank is a defensive genius. He knows how to protect himself and maneuver in the ring."
He came up in that same type of like environment as Tank. You know, they both are DMV fighters. They both school kind of.
Hitchens further explained that if the fight extends into the later rounds, Tank will have a clear advantage due to his near-perfect defense. According to him, Roach should aim to finish the fight early because if it goes the distance, Davis will likely control the pace and dictate the outcome in his favor. While defending Roach as a worthy opponent for Davis, Hitchens added, "It's not like Tank is just picking out a bum. Lamont probably knows how to fight better than a lot of the guys Tank has faced."
A lot of similarities. They both boxed each other numerous times. And I think that a lot of people riding Lamont off because of his one loss with Jamal Herring.
On the other hand, welterweight standout Kenneth Sims Jr., who has shared the ring with both Roach and Davis, also weighed in on the fight. While discussing the matchup, Sims analyzed what each fighter must do to secure victory. However, when asked for a prediction, he initially hesitated, explaining that he has a good relationship with both fighters and felt it would be disrespectful to pick a side. And that's all for now. For the latest updates on breaking news, unforgettable moments, and major events in the world of boxing, stay connected by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on top quality content. Until next time, peace out.